Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Teen Talk Comunicado page. I hope you're doing well today. After a great day of teaching, there's nothing better than meeting up with a colleague in the industry and somebody that I got to meet through a beautiful industry of the TED Talks. Please, I guess, give him a warm round of applause. Kevin Armstrong, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. Good to talk to you
Yeah,
again.
so Kevin and I met through TED Laval, TED Talks in Laval, the TEDx, that's it, TEDx.
Yeah.
And I was going to be his coach. I was his coach for a little while anyways.
Right.
And then unfortunately, because of all the world drama, the event just never launched.
Yeah.
But it was such a great, and we had a lot of things in common. One of the things Kevin has done, well, you have written a book, The Miracle Manager, and I love your perspective on management, but that's a discussion for another day. But also that you did teach in high school. You were in that space.
Yeah, I sure did.
How long were you in that for?
7 years. So
Seven
I
years.
taught physical education and music from grade 6 to grade 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And why'd you leave? I don't even think I know that.
I left because I went to a seminar and Bob Proctor, who just passed
Oh,
away.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One time I worked with Bob for a while. He went to one of his seminars and it said, "What do you want to be doing for the rest of your life?" And I thought,
Mm,
I do not want to be 55 or 60 years old putting in days for my retirement. I just saw too many older teachers that didn't want to be there. And
yeah.
it requires, I have a huge amount of respect for teachers because
Yeah.
the energy, that it takes. I mean, parents come up and if they're not saying it, they're thinking it, you're overpaid and underworked because you got 3 months off,
Mm,
all this other stuff. And what you don't realize is there's no job where it's showtime from the minute you're there until the minute you go home, right?
well,
There's a whole
yeah.
bunch of students, and the smart ones are trying to figure out how to screw you up, right? Like how to you know make it an interesting day, and you've got to be on top of that. So you've got to be going in sharp, and
Yeah.
you've got to be prepared, and then you've got this energy. And I didn't realize until after I left teaching. Um, it took me till Christmas time before I really calmed down. Like the 2 months off in the summer just kind of gets you re-entered, just gets you back to where you can go back in again. But when you
Yeah.
leave, it's not for 6 months until after you leave where you realize, man, that really was a lot of energy. So now I'm
Yeah.
overpaid. Now I'm overpaid and underworked.
But I get that because when I mean, obviously I go into school sporadically, right? So I go in for a period of time, and every day I give like 150%, and I come back home and I sort of deflate for 2, 3 hours and then rest. And then the next morning I go and do that. And like today I taught 5 classes. I had a small break between 2 of the classes. And I mean, I know that it only lasts a short while, so I can give all that. But sometimes I watch, a couple of the teachers I've worked with for many years now, and I think, how do you like all day, every day? Like it's something I don't understand. And I feel fortunate that I can take the Teen Talk program into a school, give them the skills, and then leave.
Mhm.
And know that, and I do feel like that it's creating some impact. Some of the students I saw today remember me from last year. So I think at least that's a win because they remember some of the skills, they remember some of the things we did, and now we can capitalize that and grow. But
Yeah.
we obviously met in a speaking capacity, and I'm assuming you feel like this is an important skill that we should have.
Yeah, for sure.
And what do you think that could be like how beneficial can it be? Because I think some students just don't see what the value it brings.
Right. Probably a lot of teachers don't either. I mean, when you look at today, if you want to be a good manager or be a good coach
Mm-hmm.
or be a good teacher or be a good plumber. You know, like the guy that I just finished working with, you know, he's now head of out of Vancouver. He owns a plumbing company, but he's now head of a major organization, Nexstar. He was chairman,
Yeah.
and you know, they required him to speak. So a plumber would never think they're ever going to have to speak, but you just don't know what road you're going to go down. And the person who can get up and speak, and you know, you just can't go. It's not enough to say any more than I'm an introvert, because introverts, you know, can speak effectively with different styles.
Yeah.
And introverts actually make better managers and coaches. I mean, they you know, so there's so much we've learned actually through TED. You know, when you have a person stand on a stage in front of a group of people and have to talk for 18, 15, 10 minutes, you know, to make their point. It's not like you have to be the best either. I mean, you know, the person I want to go back and meet, the person that's probably impressed me the most in the last 15 years was a bus driver who drove the rental car bus at Las Vegas from the airport out the rental bus thing, right? My friend and I were going mountain biking, and we brought our mountain bikes and all of our gear. And this guy gets out and he goes, and we were starting to load our equipment. He goes, "You go sit down, I'll load the equipment," right? And he asks us our name and where we're from. And then we get on the bus, and there's about 16 people, and he remembered each person's name. And while he's driving to the airport, or sorry, driving to the rent-a-car facility, he's like, "Hey, Kev, you're from Vancouver. You know, what do you do up there? Do they still have snow?" It's like May or June, right? Do they have snow
Yeah.
in Canada? And everybody starts laughing, right? And then my buddy was 6'7". He goes, "Jim, you're a tall guy. Did you play basketball?" And he said, "No." And the bus driver said, "Ballet?" You know,
Oh
and
my
everybody
gosh.
was laughing. But he went around each person because of his ability to speak and interact. And then when we got off, every single person on the bus was passing him one or two or five or $10. I figure in a day he was probably making $600 a day in terms of tips, right?
Wow.
You can be the bus driver who gets on and does a good job and just remains quiet. Um, and I always say, do you want to be a bus driver or do you want to be the bus driver?
Oh,
Problem
yes.
with what's going on today is, you know,
I love that.
what's your purpose? And everybody goes, "Oh, I have to be a doctor or a lawyer." Man, you can do pretty well by being a bus driver, driving a rental car bus and interacting with people, making $600 a day, $700 a day, just because you interact and you know how to speak.
And I think that, what makes me think of when I started this business, I said, every opportunity is a speaking opportunity. How will you seize it? And I think that's a great example about the bus driver is that he's spinning it to make it work for him. And that's something that's important to me too, is remembering the kids' names when I teach,
Yeah.
because I feel like it really gives them the focus and the opportunity to be seen and to be heard. And so I really do try and learn all of their names. And yeah, there's a few that I miss out and there's a few that I forget, but generally speaking, that is what happens. And they really appreciate, you can see the twinkle in their eye because they think, oh, she remembered me or she
Yeah.
knows me.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that story. That is so powerful. And I think for teachers too, I mean, if I circle back, their plate is pretty loaded. And I think when I'm able to come in and sort of alleviate that and also say to them, "Oh, I could get you a free grade out of this." It's that sense of wanting to help and, be of service. But I think that kids now, I want them to see that this skill is going to give them so much more than just, oh, I have to do a presentation, because you never know what you're going to be up against or what situation you're going to be in.
No, you never know. You never know.
So I mean, as obviously as a business owner, as a manager, former manager, or, you help managers, what are like some of the top things that you think people need to do to be on top of this sort of skill set?
Well, I don't know. See, here's the thing. You know, you should, it's okay not to want to do it, but it's not okay not to try to do it. Like, try to do it and
Mm,
see if it works for you, right? I think one of the biggest things that I have against the school system is that we teach people they have to work on their weaknesses. And
Yeah.
that's really bad. I mean, and then what we do is we get into companies, we go, let's use these tools, these behavior assessments and all these other tools and figure out what your strengths are and let you work on your strengths. What and let somebody else work on your weaknesses. So if you go to a conference and somebody says, I'm gonna you should work on your weaknesses, I get up and walk out. Because that's a problem in the school system.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, you need to work on your weaknesses. I had enough of that
No.
at 12 years
Yeah.
in university. I had enough of that, right? You don't
Yeah.
need the weaknesses. You just need to work on your strengths. And if we can find talent in kids and let them work on their strengths, let's quit making them feel like failures because they can't do well at physics or chemistry, but
Yeah.
they can write a great poem, or they can,
Yeah.
they're really good at figuring something mechanical.
Yeah.
Uh, that's it's just a real intuition that they have in terms of certain things, a talent, what they're born to do. Let's find out
Yeah.
what they're born to do as opposed to making them do stuff where they just feel stupid or they just
Yeah.
can't.
And I never want, like when I go in, I don't want to be a hindrance, or I don't want to make anybody feel worse. I
Mhm.
even say to students, like, this may not be your jam, and I totally get it. Uh, but if you can just listen and take from somebody that, it is their jam, because, there are students that this is their thing and they enjoy doing it. But if you can just listen and just sort of take in something, then I'm good. Because if they can go this far ahead, that's a win for me. I know. And last week I was in Northern Ontario, and this one student said to me, I don't do this, Natalie. I don't do this. I'm like, okay, no problem. I was there for 3 hours. What was I going to do? I wasn't going to force anybody to do anything. But something happened. Something clicked for her. One student said, what do I do if students aren't listening to me? And I said, what a great question, because, what do you do? And I
Yeah.
said, well, you as an audience, you got a job. Your job is just to listen to the person that's in front of you. I mean, because we all know they have to do these presentations. No teacher doesn't allow a student not to do them. They're obliged most of the time to present. My opinion is that there's so many ways to present. We don't have to do it in this formal sort of like, here's a thesis statement and finish the thesis statement. It's how can we, I think, like you say, capitalize on what their strengths are. And I just
Oh yeah.
explained to them,
Can you tell a story, right? I mean,
yeah,
the reason that girl you sold her and she came back was because you didn't say, oh no, you need to do this. Like it's really important that you do this, blah, blah. You just went, okay. When I'm working with a management team on the first day I meet with them, they do the most reading in between the first meeting and the second meeting. So I get assigned a bunch of reading. And I'll have somebody go, I'm too busy to read. I'm not going to read. And I go, I don't care. Don't read. Doesn't matter. We're still going to do well. You don't need to read it. And a year later, that person's asking for what's the new book? What's the best book to, they're asking for because Stephen Covey used to do something really cool where he got a person on a stage, right? And you go, okay, every time I push you back and every time you push me back, right? I you get $1 and I get $1. So if I push you back, I get $1, you get so you start pushing, the person starts pushing against him and he just goes like this. And then he
wow,
pushes again, goes like, and he tries to push against the other person, and the other person doesn't let him do it, right?
yeah,
Until he finally realizes that Covey's just gonna he goes, we'd be making twice as much money if you just let me go back and forth, right? Like
mm,
because resistance or persistence builds resistance.
yeah,
And so the more you persist when you're pushing that girl and going, you have to speak, as opposed to the way you handled it, you
yeah,
know, that's the magic. The magic is, and then who's not going to benefit society from being able to tell a story? I will sit and listen to a First Nations chief tell a story all day long, right?
yeah,
Because they're talking about experience, and they're talking it just from their heart. And
yeah,
and and so these people go, well, you have to stand like this, and you have to stand behind a podium, and you can't, and you go blah 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 blah, right? And it's like just tell your story.
yeah.
What
And that's sort of what I'm trying to get across, is that we have all these opportunities to speak, but make it work for you. Like,
you,
make it work for you. Yes, you have to speak for your audience. And I mean, there's so many levels, right, of speaking and who you're talking to. But in the moment that I'm in a classroom, it's really about what can we just do right now in practice? And I get them to just answer really basic questions, like I just impromptu speaking. And it's
Yeah.
funny because once two or three of them go up, now they're like, oh, I want a piece of that, because
Yeah.
there is no pressure.
Right.
It's just about getting comfortable. And if I can get that one kid up that didn't even want to get up, I win. I win every time.
Yeah.
So, um, okay. So
What a
storytelling.
powerful skill set, right?
Yeah, it's powerful. Absolutely. Any words of wisdom to wrap it up? I could
No,
talk to you all day.
I think what you're doing is great. I just had a great session though down in Florida.
Yeah.
So we were talking at an annual retreat with managers, with a management team. What I've discovered from studying coaches for the last 15 years, it's the soft stuff they do with their teams. It's not the hard skill stuff, it's the soft stuff.
Mm.
And so I had 60 people in a room, and I pointed at two big people and said, "Go stand by the doors because nobody gets to leave." That's how I started the presentation. Oh man. So we talked about the vulnerability, right? And how vulnerability is powerful. And I said, so what's your go-to cry story? What's a story that you can't get through saying because it makes you cry? Anybody want to get up to a mic and tell one? So I tell one. I got about three or four of them. So I tell one. And then it just led off to people coming up to the mic. But that's kind of like what you're doing in terms of starting it, right? Just start it. And then people
Yeah.
came up to the mic and started telling, I mean, just some amazing stories of heartbreak or accomplishment or parents and family members and that kind of stuff. It's just like, wow. And
And oh,
such a
yeah.
powerful energy, right? Powerful, powerful energy.
And it really boils down to, at the end of the day, for me, in any situation, even what you're talking about now, is people just want to be heard. They
Yeah.
don't know that necessarily. But I tell teens and I tell the teachers, they just want to be heard. Sometimes they don't, it's not about anything in particular, but they just want to know that you are hearing what they're saying. You may not agree with what they're saying. They're teens after all, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But sometimes those managers maybe are not feeling heard in their teams, and they just you're giving them a space. You're giving them space. It's awesome. It's
Yeah. One of
cool.
my theories, when you say they just want to be heard, and you said, teens. Well, I think the teens have a rap of
Yeah.
being, they come by it honestly. And the reason they come by it is because us as parents are such hypocrites, you know? And so we say something to them like, you shouldn't take mind altering drugs, and we have a double gin and tonic in our hand. And, and you're giving them crap about smoking pot, and you're going, you shouldn't take mind altering drugs. And you go, now, you used to be able to say, well, my drink's legal. Well, you can't say that anymore because pot's legal, right? And you say, well, you
Yeah.
shouldn't smoke pot. And you got a double gin and tonic. And if the kid was smart, they're probably thinking it, or if they're not, they're going to learn it later. What's the number one drug in North America that's most responsible for family violence, highway deaths? Go down the list. Is that double gin and tonic? You're sitting there getting yourself hammered on, and you're telling me I shouldn't take mind altering drugs. And so then
Yeah.
we get rebellious because they just go, so sick of the double standard, you know?
And okay, so oh my God, I feel like we could just keep talking, Kevin. But one of the reflections I had in preparing for this tour that I did was, why is it that teens are so anxious and nervous? And because that's something the teachers have brought up. The teachers have brought up that, they're tired of hearing the kids saying, oh, I don't want to do it. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I'm too nervous. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm that. I'm shy. I'm an introvert. And there's an excuse because, of course, the teachers in the curriculum that they have to follow, which is unfortunate, they have to check off this box. But I think in looking at in my, I did a little introspection. For a long time I was told, "Oh, Natalie's really shy. She's so shy.
Yeah.
Oh, Natalie's so nervous." So what do you think I started believing?
Of
I
course.
was shy and I was nervous. And I used to get myself so wrapped up as a kid. I used to vomit. I mean, I couldn't even like talk to a teacher. I was a hot mess. Well, it's not for anything. I have a daughter now. And we tell her every day, you're smart, you're strong, you're brave. You're smart, you're strong, you're brave. You're nervous? Okay, be nervous. It's fine. You're worried? Okay, be worried. It's fine. Let it go. I'm not saying I'm a better parent, but I feel like what I've learned over the years is that, we have to stop like assuming what they feel. And I'm sure a lot of these kids are hearing things not on purpose. Parents do their best, but they hear the things and they think, oh, I'm really nervous. Oh, I'm shy. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, she doesn't like presenting. Who said? You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it goes along that line of, so it's all kind of intertwined.
Kids will never
So
come.
if
Kids,
what?
kids, kids will kids will sometimes meet your expectations or come close, but they won't go above them. And so you better be careful where you hit, where you put that ceiling, right? Uh,
100%.
I sold our RESPs in my life to parents who would lose their interest. Their kids didn't go to post-secondary school, and I was on a plane one day flying from Vancouver to Montreal, and the guy next to me goes, "Oh yeah, you lose your interest." I said, "Okay, yeah, but look how much interest you get if they do go." And I said,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Well, what if my kids don't go?" I said, "What if they go to Harvard? Harvard's going to be this much money, and you'll actually have a chance of funding Harvard if they go to Harvard." I said, "Well, before I ask that question, do you think your kids can go to Harvard?" And he says, "Doubt it." And I started putting my stuff away, right? And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I'm putting my stuff away." He goes, "Why not?" He says, "Because if you don't think they're going to go, they're not going to go."
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
you set the ceiling. You set
Yeah.
the ceiling of opportunities by the way you talk.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, so good. So if people want to get in touch with you, they've watched you, they heard what you had to say, they loved what you said. How do they
Yeah.
get in touch with you? What's the best way?
KevinGArmstrong.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you doing this with me today because great insight.
Yeah.
Great
I,
way to end my day.
I love what you're doing. It's great. That's
Thank you,
fantastic.
sir. I
Glad you
appreciate it
enjoyed it.
so much. Hey, I need to come out to Vancouver.
Exactly. Yeah. Find some
Who
teachers
do
in
I talk
Vancouver.
to?
I don't know. That's a good. I'm so far removed from that. I have no idea. I'm more in
I know.
Seattle.
But I do have people I know out there, so I need to figure out how to if I can go to Northern Ontario, I can come to BC for sure.
Exactly. Right on.
Awesome. Well, whatever you choose to do, I hope you have a great day and I'll see you soon next episode here on Teen Talk. Thanks,
You bet.
Kevin.
Thanks, Natalie.
Bye.
Bye.